Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
Once again, thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk Podcast, where we celebrate industry heroes such as yourself. You're always curious, solving problems. You always say, why not? What if? I love that energy. You are the miracle, the future. You are the hope, the future. You are definitely the dreams of the future. That's why we celebrate you. How about that, man? You can tell I'm a big fan of industry heroes such as yourself. Thank you very much for what you're doing. In the Industrial Hot Tea, her name is Frances Brunelle. Now, she goes by Fran, and because I'm a friend of Fran, and you will be a friend of Fran, you can call her Fran. So she is the president at Accelerated Manufacturing Brokers, and she's going to be dropping some manufacturing, selling, cool stuff bombs on this particular interview. Let's get going. Yeah, so it's an interesting time out there, and there's no doubt about it. If you've been watching the news, and if you've been sort of engaged out there, which you are because you're an industry hero, why wouldn't you? You will notice that there's a lot of interesting challenges that exist. Now, Fran, and what she brings to the table, and why this is such a great conversation, is the fact that if you're looking to transition, either sell your manufacturing business, transition, whatever it might be, you need Fran and Team Accelerated Manufacturing Brokers, because they've got a gazillion years of experience. Now, Fran only has close to 28 years only. That's wisdom, baby. That's wisdom, and that's major skills. So you need to reach out to somebody like Fran if you're looking into that, because she'll make your life easier and really much better. And our interview is a lot of fun. All right, let's get out the calendar. You got to get out the calendar, because I'm going to continue to harp on this, because you, industry pro, need to get your life back. Now, this is Barcelona. You've heard me talk about it a number of times. This is October 5th through the 7th. It's the IoT Solutions World Congress, brought to you by the Industrial Internet Consortium and Farah Barcelona. Great people, great venue, great everything. Check it out. It's at industrialtalk.com. Find out more. All right, the next event, this is in Cleveland, Ohio, which is a fantastic location for an event called the Manufacturing and Technology Show. Yep. It is November 9th through the 11th. Great people. Great location. Northeast Ohio is absolutely wonderful. And because I'm really committed to food, it's another great place for food. Yep. All three of things working in your corner. The Manufacturing and Technology Show, November 9th through the 11th. All right, back to Fran. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know what this market has, but I know that if you have a business, a manufacturing business, you need people like Fran and Team Accelerator to figure out how to navigate those waters. And she'll make your life easier because she's got close to 28 years of experience. Whew. That's an expert for you. By the way, that's an expert. All right, enjoy the interview with Fran. Fran, welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think there is so much to be gained from talking about manufacturing and what role you play. Before we get into that, give us a little background for the Industrial Talk listeners of who Fran is.
Hey, you got it. Thanks for having me. So, Fran Brunelle, I am the founder of Accelerated Manufacturing Brokers, Inc. We're a firm that specializes in the sale of manufacturing companies throughout the United States. Generally, our clients have between 2 and 20 million in revenue. We're one of the only firms of our kind. There are plenty of other people that sell manufacturing companies. They don't specialize in it, and they don't do it nationally usually. So that makes us a little bit unique.
And you know, the topic I think that is of relevance in our conversation today is let's say we've been slapped all around by the pandemic. It has impacted manufacturers, not just in New Jersey where you're from, but everywhere around the world. Global pandemic. Give us a little sort of a summation of the impact that you've seen in manufacturing as a result of that pandemic?
So it really depends on what sector manufacturer is in. Some of them have been hit hard. So think about companies that make components for commercial aerospace. Yeah, they got hit hard.
Oh,
Another client that does instruments used in elective surgery, they got slammed, right?
Oh, big time.
Other sectors were doing incredibly well. So what I could tell you now is that if there's one thing COVID taught us, is that we need to have sources of manufactured goods within the United States. As a result of this, the M&A activity within the M&A sector is through the roof. So think about, private equities that invest in all different types of companies. Some of them have never invested in manufacturing. They're seeking manufacturing companies now because manufacturing was deemed essential. They were not shut down during COVID, and everybody wants a COVID-proof business. Manufacturing fits that bill.
Oh, I'm going to write that. COVID-proof.
COVID-proof business.
I think you're spot on that one, because I know that my conversations that I've had with other individuals, the term resiliency has always been popping up here and there, and that to me says COVID-proof business. And so if a pandemic decides that it wants to rear its ugly head, well, I'm resilient. I'm COVID-proof. I've got my sources locally, and we're all just having a grand old time. So from an M&A perspective, you're seeing an uptick because they want these COVID-proof businesses?
Oh, absolutely. And just the sheer competition. We just, this week, a very recent listing, just in April of this year, we're at the end of the May, and we're fielding 5 different offers on this business.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's good for you. I mean, that's good for it.
It's good for me. It's good for my client because it's gonna fund their retirement. And the sheer competition has raised the price.
See, that is an unusual result of this whole pandemic world we live in, because I look at it strictly, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've got supply and demand, right? Supply and demand. If I could get my supply and the demand is there, my manufacturer, right, who sits in the middle, is doing just fine and dandy. But for me, I'm having a hard time making sure that my supply is stable, my demand, it's all over the place. I don't know. Things change. How do you draw some confidence with that whole supply and demand conundrum?
Well, yeah. So listen, there's still a lot of work that has to be done with supply chain, right?
Everybody's a supply chain expert now.
Sure. And you know what? There's even more problem with supply chain right now than there was in the middle of COVID last year. Talk to anybody buying steel right now.
Or lumber, steel.
Or lumber. Exactly. Yep.
Why is that the case? I mean, maybe the demand. I don't know. Why is that the case? Why am I trying to figure it out there? And when we've got you, Fran, I have no idea. Why is that the case?
Well, I'm not sure. A lot of people a lot smarter than me are trying to figure out what's going on with supply chain. But so supply and demand, you think about everybody staying home for a year and gee, we might have to stay home for the rest of our lives. And so, hey, let's improve our house. Right? Let's do a little construction, and the whole nation is doing that. So yeah, you got a little supply and demand issue going on.
Well, hell, I missed that. I've just been sitting in the salt mine right here, the old podcast, Industrial Talk podcast salt mine. I haven't done anything. I might have painted something, but I did gain weight. Let's put it that way. I went right past COVID-19 and on into COVID-25. That's my weight gain. Anyway, so this is interesting. You as a broker, if I came to you as a manufacturer and fall into that great category. Do you go down that road of trying to ensure that or create a value proposition that is a COVID-proof business? Like, hi, I'm an investor and I'm looking for, do you do that?
Well, listen, there are some businesses that are not COVID proof, right? When someone comes to us, the first thing that we're going to do for a manufacturer is do a valuation on the business. Many manufacturers, they're absolutely fabulous at what they do, but they have no idea how M&A works. There are a lot of firms that are going to charge them an arm and a leg or their firstborn to do a valuation.
Yeah.
We're going to walk them through a process, and we're not going to charge them for it. We do not believe in doing that.
Shut the front door.
Shut the front door.
That's great. I like that.
You know what? It's most of our clients are founder-led or family-run organizations. Like we've got a fourth-generation manufacturing company. It's been around for 75 years right now that we're working with. Point is, there's most of the people that we sell, there's never been institutional funds into the manufacturing company. So founder-led, family-run. They don't take too kindly to give me some money, but I haven't produced any quality work for you yet. We're working on building a relationship with these manufacturers to take them through an entire lengthy process to sell them. So that's step one, is to do evaluation.
Well, I would imagine here, if I was a founder and this is my baby, my sweat, my equity, I can understand the reluctance of saying, oh, who in the heck is Fran? What's Fran going to be all about? And making the decision that maybe I should retire or transition or whatever. Those are big emotional decisions.
Oh, they sure are. That's one of the things that we vet for when we're looking at clients and drive questions to help them understand whether or not they're actually ready to pull the trigger. Because nothing is worse than going down a path and you get to the 11th hour and they go, I really don't want to sell my baby. We don't want to see that happen. We want to push them up front so that they understand whether or not they're ready. Yeah. One of the best stories I ever heard. So years ago, we sold a manufacturer up in New England. And before he reached out to me, he and his wife went through a process to determine whether or not they were ready to retire. They bought this absolutely beautiful high-end motorhome, and they went on a 3-month cross-country trip.
Good.
When they got back, I got the phone call and they said, well, we did it for 3 months and we're both still alive. We haven't killed each other. So I think I'm ready to sell.
Wow. Isn't that an interesting approach?
Yeah.
And it's solid. I'm telling you, it's solid. You're right. If you're in a motorhome, beautiful, get out of town motorhome, I got it. But you're still in a motorhome traveling around. Yeah. You're in close proximity to each other. Yeah, I understand. That's a good thing. Yeah. 24/7. Yeah, absolutely. I like that approach. And I think that, so let's say I'm a manufacturer. For clarification, you got people that want to sell, and then you got people that want to buy, come to you, right?
Yes.
It's like, hey, Fran, I want to buy I've for whatever reason, I got this is my desire. I want to buy, and I'm looking for companies that look like this. And then you say, hey, that's great, Scott. We've got these, companies that fall into that category. And then you try to really attempt to broker the deal. Is that the process?
A little bit, yeah. My firm represents the seller. Although we have a lot of buyers come to us, we do not represent them. And the specific reason for that is, so again, dealing with founder-led, family-run companies, they need help getting through the process unscathed. many times the buyers are, they have multiple companies. They might be a large private equity firm.
Yeah.
They have teams of attorneys.
Yeah.
They have, all of these things. And, most of my clients, they want the jobs to remain in the community. They don't want a company chopped up. And so, with the buyers, there's a strict vetting process that we go through. But we want to represent the manufacturer because 9 times out of 10, it's incredibly important to them that the staff be well taken care of, that the jobs remain in the community, because often they're not retiring to Florida. They're staying in the same community, and they're going to run into these families at the grocery store, at the church. They want to be able to look their employees in the eye and say, hey, I made this decision because I had nobody to pass the baton to, but I made a good decision that I'm proud of and that is going to be good for you.
So how does somebody, and I get it, so that's a beautiful thing that you represent the manufacturers, you represent their interests, and I would imagine that that's an important conversation that makes sense. How do people from Iowa find you? How do you do that? What do you do?
So my firm, we have been providing information, blog articles, all kinds of different things to the manufacturing community for years and years and years. And, as an organization, we try to provide valuable information that will help who our target market is. The thing that comes to mind is, what makes a manufacturing company successful also makes them very easy to sell. So what are those things? Speaking into them, writing about them, keeping conversation on social media channels. I started my career as an industrial auctioneer. So we were helping.
Did you speak fast?
Most of it was online.
Never mind.
Never mind. No, we were selling internationally equipment. So a lot of our work was helping companies get their machines to port, get it shipped overseas, etc. Right. But anyway, so, at the behest of some of our longtime buyers, we started the M&A journey. Yeah. Companies looking to retire themselves or make acquisition to help them grow. I have a passion for, I want to see manufacturers exit not at auction. I want to see them successful enough to sell in a quality M&A transaction, because it's going to affect their quality of life in retirement.
Yeah. And if you were in that position, Fran, and you saw that somebody has to sell, has to liquidate, has to get rid of the stuff after years and years of trying to make this business a success, that's a sad story. And that's a whole nother conversation to have. If you're struggling, there might be ways of being able to turn that business around, and that's another conversation of trying to find the right people to do that too as well.
It is. Well, and, compliments to you for what you do for a living. Let me tell you what, the thing most lacking in founder-led manufacturing organizations is a marketing capability. You think about these guys, they're retiring, they're maybe in their 70s, and they, back when they started their business, there was no fax machines, there was no email, it was a different way of doing business. It was word of mouth. It was an old boys network. Well, that has changed. And so a lot of companies that are auctioned off, they have not changed with the times. They haven't learned the more modern ways of doing business. And so, companies that can help them in that regard you could be responsible in part for saving manufacturing in the United States, having these companies not go to auction.
See, that's interesting. I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fran, did you see an uptick on manufacturers that have been going to auction as a result of COVID?
Oh, I haven't played in the auction field in many, many years.
Good. Well,
yeah,
good. I don't want to hear that story anyway.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm sure that there have been.
Yeah.
Strong
but again,
companies survived it.
Right.
I'm sure that there's some that didn't.
Well, I'm a big, I resist legacy thinking. Because I think today, especially today, I think that there's a lot of innovation, a lot of creativity, a lot of energy out there that can truly turn that business around at a fraction of the cost, and as a result, find organizations like your own, right, to be able to leave a legacy, whatever, a retirement, whatever it might be, whatever the objective is. I think today more than ever, we can find ourselves in a position to be able to turn businesses around. That's how I look at it. Yeah. I'm just telling you, that's just me. Yeah. Maybe I'm pie in the sky.
Back in the years where I was doing auction, this was a common occurrence. We would start the process and give someone a contract, and they'd go, okay, great. But listen, I just want to reach out to my customers to let them know that I'm going to go out of business and see if they need anything else. Right. And inevitably, oh my gosh, you proactively reached out to your customers. Orders would fly in, and then they'd go, wow. It's like, yeah, Cupcake, what if you were doing this the whole time? And this is what manufacturers need to learn.
Stunning. That is, I just honestly, I come across that all the time, still to this day. And that is a brilliant real life example of how easy it is just to reach out and hopefully turn things around. Because I would imagine that many of the customers are saying, I felt comfortable with you. I don't want to go anywhere. That now you're screwing up my business, and I don't want that.
Yeah. And I love what you said too about there are modern marketing methods available that are so inexpensive. I mean,
it is. It's dirt cheap. It's like, really? $25 a month? Really?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. It's stunning. I mean, and what's interesting with the new way of thinking, the new way of marketing, the way you're thinking to go forward and build your business, is that many of these providers of technologies, providers of solution, understand that it's a guy like Scott McKenzie who struggles maybe with technology, so they've got to make it. But I'm a customer. They got to make it as easy as they possibly can. It's a beautiful thing. Really? All I have to do is drag and drop, and I'm rolling? Fantastic. And that's the way you roll. Yeah, I love what you do, and I love that service that you provide. I love the focus that you bring to the table of transitioning, manufacturers wherever they want to go, but really, truly represent, because the other side of that equation, there's some interesting people out there.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
that truly want to take it. All right, we got to wrap it up. How do I get a hold of you there, Fran?
Well, people can reach out via our website, www.acceleratedmfgbrokers.com. Our phone number is 908-387-1000.
Wow, you got a 1,000 number. Yay! That's good.
Yay!
Well, that is excellent. Now, listeners, fear not. I'm going to have all the contact information with Fran Brunelle and the wonderful team at Accelerated Manufacturing Brokers at the Industrial Talk podcast on industrialtalk.com. If you want anything industrial, I'm just going to lay this out. Go to industrialtalk.com.
There you go.
I leave it right there. Let it percolate a little bit. Hey, that's right. All right. You absolutely were wonderful there, friends.
You're a delight. Thank you for having me.
That's right, listeners. I'm a delight. Do not come to me and say, Scott, you're not a delight. I'm a delight. Fran says so. All right. Thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk podcast there, Fran.
Thank you so much for having me again.
All right, listeners, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. All the contact information for Fran, the accelerated manufacturing brokers, will be on that site as well as industrialtalk.com.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
All right, a big shout out to Fran Brunelle, president at Accelerated Manufacturing Brokers. Yep, she was good. She has great insights. She's fantastic. She will get that job done, and she will do it to make sure that you achieve whatever goals you're trying to achieve. That's Fran right there. I'm looking at her stat card out on LinkedIn. Yeah, reach out to her. All right, again, let's wrap it up here. We've got 2 events, October 5th through the 7th, and that's in Barcelona. Got to make that. That's the IoT Solutions World Congress. The next one is, of course, November 9th through the 11th. And this is in Cleveland, Ohio, and this is the Manufacturing and Technology Show. Let's get our life back in order. Again, I'm not overselling this. You're the miracle, you're the hope. You are creators of dreams. That's the important component. You need to hang out with people who are bold, brave, and daring greatly. You're going to change the world if you hang out with people who are bold, brave, and daring greatly. Change the world. Industry can do that. We're going to have a great interview right around the corner, so stay tuned for the next Industrial Talk.